Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Happy Thursday. I hope you are thirsty for some pro wrestling punditry. It is me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, joined here as I am every Thursday by our very good friend Paul Pratt. Paul, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
I'm glad to be back, Nick.
Yeah, there's a pep in my step. There's something in the air. I read this WrestleVotes tweet just like 20 minutes ago where they're like, setup has begun in Houston for SmackDown, and there is an air of excitement and energy right now in pro wrestling. I mean, AEW for sure got me going last night. I think Friday I'm gonna be feeling it tomorrow night, Paul.
You know, I'm optimistic. I feel like AEW pulled out a lot of the stops last night. It was a really, really great show, which I know we'll get into.
Oh, yeah.
But the energy, the audience at full capacity was a different experience for us than the last 14 months. And I'm optimistic, fingers crossed, that WWE takes full advantage of this to really start to give us a product that's a lot more worthy of watching.
Yeah, well, we got a, like it says here from Praddock in the comments, sold out crowd in Houston, Texas for SmackDown. Everything's selling out right now. At 90, it's on fire at the moment. So, yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about SmackDown. We'll be talking about Money in the Bank. We're going to talk about Dynamite. We got a lot to get to here. Also, like I said, the comment section is open. If you want to join the show, drop a comment in. We'll put it up here on the screen. We also love those thumbs up and those sad faces and angry faces or happy
emojis.
Yeah.
I even like that one that's like eyes like this with the mouth like this, like the where it's like, I'm not sure I agree with that at all.
Sure. Well, whatever. Yeah, sure. Slap us with a grapefruit. Is that what it is? Wait, the kids, what's the purple thing? The
eggplant.
The eggplant. Slap us with an eggplant. Whatever. You know.
You don't know how many times I've said that.
Yeah. Well, hey, did you catch my Virgil interview yesterday, Paul?
Not all of it, but he's a whack job. God love him. Like, I'm just gonna like say it like it is. Like, you know, if I were not sober, I'd want to be on what he's on.
Yeah, man. What a
good shit.
Hey, if you like some people like meat sauce more than others, and Virgil loves his meat sauce. It seems very present.
Yeah. Well, he does have a legendary meat sauce.
I know. I heard he can eat his own meat sauce, but I don't know. You know, I didn't get the chance to ask him. I was going to ask him.
If I could do that, I wouldn't be on this podcast with you right now. I'd be a lot more famous for a lot worse reasons.
Man, we are having a good time here today. Hey, Kristen Jones here with a good old good morning, the way I say it. Also here, Daniel Price saying, I'm not Michael Buffer. Never do that again. I disagree, Daniel.
Oh, my God. This harkens me back to when we were on Pro Wrestling for Life with Sean Waltman, and Sean and I both buried you for your talk show voice.
Whatever. I don't care. I have a very specific personality, and I'm okay with that.
I have several specific personalities.
That's true. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Rob here saying that interview was something. You know, I agree that Virgil interview.
Anything with Virgil is something largely unidentifiable.
All right. Hey, keep the comments coming here. I see a lot of them coming in. Do the emojis, all that stuff. Before we get to what we're doing here today, I want to say congratulations to Sheamus. He got engaged. His partner, Isabella Ravilla, tweeted or took to Instagram, announced the engagement. It looks like Sheamus popped the question at the Cliffs of Moher in Ireland this past week. And I don't know. Can this guy be any more Irish? I don't think so.
No, I mean, he took her there specifically in case she said no, then he could just throw himself off.
Yeah.
Luckily for all of us, he did not. She did not.
Man, congrats. It's got to be hard. I mean, this guy's been on the road with WWE for at least a decade now, right?
Yep.
I mean, how do you keep a relationship going like that? I don't know.
He probably feels like for this particular relationship, he probably feels like COVID was like the best thing in the world. The pandemic locked him down, kept him in one place, allowed him to lock down this beautiful woman. So,
hey, that's true. It is going to be very different for all these people that have had, you know, the chance to be in Florida for like 18 months now, working on each other. Somewhat normal life for a lot of these people that really haven't ever had one. So,
and God bless her for, you know, jumping on board right now when things are about to go back to normal. And she's like, well,
We have a big show. So later here, Scott Fishman, we're going to have his interview with Velvet Sky. Also, congratulations again on the Mickey James two-parter that we released here.
Thank
A lot
you.
of attention, Paul. A lot of attention last 2 weeks.
I appreciate that. And like a kind of a low-key secret, as soon as this broadcast ends, I'm actually jumping onto a Zoom call with Mickey. So,
are you doing Goss stuff, or what are you doing?
I can't tell you.
Okay. All right.
More shall be revealed.
Yeah, okay. Spill the tea another time, I guess. Not
exactly. So, it's something really, really exciting. So,
okay. Well, cool. There you go. Heard it here first. The tease, I guess. And then also we're going to dive in the mailbag. We're going to talk about the woman who's the subject of our top story today. Who do you most want to see Becky Lynch feud with when she comes back? That'll take us to news you can use. News will leave a bruise. Becky Lynch, according to PWInsider.com, scheduled to be at Money in the Bank. No word on if she's going to appear at the pay-per-view, but as of this morning, she's scheduled to be there. So it seems imminent. Paul, what do you think?
I think that at this juncture, it's only a matter of time and Becky's choice, right? Because, a lot of individuals who've come back from having a baby, like these women want to spend as much time as possible with their child. But right. There's something that says to me that Becky is that really competitive type of individual who recognizes that she was at the height of her success. This is a lifelong dream for her. She has the child. She has a supportive partner now. They're both going to be on the road. So, the kid's going to go on the road with them. So I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of aunties and uncles in the back watching the baby while she's cutting promos in the ring.
Sure. I think they're going to, I would imagine a steady nanny as well. This child's going to have for the entire.
Yeah, well, there's no lack of money. Let's just be honest there. So, but Becky, for God's sake, make sure the nanny is hideous. Make her very ugly. We've seen it too often. You're a beautiful and talented woman, but make sure the nanny is ugly.
Oh, wow.
But very caring.
What are you saying about Seth here, Paul? Seth's a man.
I'm just saying that we've seen it play out time and time again. I watched way too much true crime drama, and at least every 20th episode, it's about somebody killing a nanny or the nanny killing someone.
What are you saying about Seth? Are you saying he's going to... I thought at first you were just saying he's going to cheat on her with the nanny. Now it sounds like you're implying he might murder this nanny.
No, I'm implying that the nanny might murder her because she wants her life. But the thing is, my point is, just don't take any chances.
Okay. Well, here's what I'll say about Becky coming back. I don't know that it's a shoe-in for Money in the Bank. She left on Raw. You think she comes back on Raw? Or do you think they put her over on SmackDown, especially in the wake of Bayley leaving SmackDown? What do you think?
I think that there's a big opening right now on, that they need to bring somebody in who's got that star power on SmackDown because Bayley was the anchor. And we're looking at the sheer fact that Bianca Del Rio, drag queen, like Bianca Belair, is in this feud, right, with Bayley, and maybe by the way, maybe Bianca Del Rio will get involved the same way Cardi B decided to because somebody name dropped her. But what I'm saying is that we were looking at a main event slot here that opened up, and when they brought out Carmella to fill that, I was like absolutely underwhelmed. So it shows the lack of depth, really, of credible challengers on SmackDown. So bringing somebody like a Becky Lynch back in to fill that role would probably be advisable. But the unfortunate thing is, Becky's going to come back as a major babyface with a major babyface pop, and Bianca is as babyface as you can get. So what is that going to present for us?
That's why I say, I feel like Becky's going to come back on Raw. I have for a while thought that she was going to be the big thing they bring out this Friday night on SmackDown to get a big reaction. It just seemed, but the more that I've thought about it, the more people have brought it up to me about how she left on Raw and is like a Raw superstar. Her showing up backstage at Money in the Bank, I don't know where you put her on the show unless she wants to surprise everybody or, they're going to pick the last SmackDown spot this Friday. I think she's backstage to kind of make a meeting about what they're going to do on Monday night, if I had to guess. And I would see her coming back the Monday after Money in the Bank, if I had to guess.
But is she a Raw superstar when she was Becky? She had all the belts at one point in time. So she was the champion of every brand. And, we've seen her back and forth. I think that she is in that place of she is a WWE superstar. She's not a branded superstar. She's a superstar no matter where she goes. And I think that they could definitely bring her back. But I think that what we're more likely going to see is a scenario where if like Becky Lynch were to come back, we would end up seeing her on perhaps Raw, where they need a, maybe a really strong babyface type of character. And then we'll see somebody drafted over to SmackDown to fill that obvious opening and available spot in the main event.
Yeah, because we're not short on heel women over on Raw at the moment. You have Charlotte, you have Rhea Ripley.
We don't even know who's the main heel because the two top ones are feuding. Yeah,
Alexa Bliss is over on Raw. I mean, there's a lot of heels for a strong baby to work with over on Raw. Maybe Becky Lynch plugged into Raw can rejuvenate what's going on over there. I mean, Bianca's really strong over on SmackDown. They're bringing in a bunch of NXT women like Shotzi, Tegan, Toni Storm all at once. 1 week SmackDown to fill the void of Bayley. I thought that was very interesting.
I am very actually excited about that. I think it's long overdue for Shotzi Blackheart to be brought up to the main roster. I think that she's somebody who they never really pulled the trigger as a main event solo act on NXT, but I think she definitely has that capacity. I just think the way the fans respond to her is so over the top, incredibly good. And she's a local girl. She's a local Northern California girl, worked here. I actually worked a show with her a number of years back, but the fact is that she's incredibly talented. And then Toni Storm has the look of that maiden superstar, and we never got to see her really excel the way she could have, I think, on NXT. So let's see what they do with her on the main roster.
Yeah. Here, I've been neglectful of the comment section here. Let's see. Heather Statley. I've missed when Becky comes back. I think that's a sentence. We have Christopher Strikeleather here saying, me personally, if Bayley returns in time for the Rumble or WrestleMania, I want to see a Becky Bayley feud. And that's what I wanted too. I wonder if that's what they wanted.
It's very possible because, Bayley as this new heel persona is something that, we've never really gotten to experience Becky with in that capacity, especially not at the level of work that Bayley was doing as a heel. So good. So good.
We also have here from Samantha, I think wherever Seth is, Becky's going to be as well. And you brought up these two traveling on the road with their baby. Seth definitely are on SmackDown at the moment. I actually think that's a really good observation. If Becky winds up on Raw or coming back on Raw, the draft is right. The draft is right around the corner in October. Maybe they can make it work for a month and a half. But come that draft, I would be shocked if these two aren't on the same brand together.
But at the same time, the last I recall, WWE for a period of time at least was talking about super shows that combine the brands,
sure,
except for the TV taping. So, that kind of changes things a little bit versus when there used to be two touring casts, basically.
Yeah, I agree, but it's still, 2 to 3 days apart. When you have to go fly in for Raw, you're there the night before, you're there day of, you fly out day after, and then you do it on a Friday as well. I mean, there's still a substantial time apart there when you're on different brands. So I think there's something to what Samantha's saying.
That's very likely.
Yeah. Let's see here. We have what's one I want to pick out here? Daniel Price. Exactly. Face Becky versus heel Ripley, taking back the belt she vacated to Asuka. Going to SmackDown would be useless and awkward. Yeah, she dropped that belt to Asuka on Raw in her I'm going home to be a mother.
Mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, all right. Let's see. We have and we'll do one more for here from Delin. This is from Twitch. I don't agree with having Shotzi and Tegan being brought up as a tag team. I mean, what about Ember Moon? What happens to her except her continually losing to Raquel and Dakota? Please tell me that they are not going to release Ember Moon. I don't think Ember Moon is in any danger whatsoever. I think Ember Moon is looked at it by Hunter and Sean and probably everybody else backstage down there. I want to say kind of maybe in the Natalya role. Like you could push her as a singles. You could pair her with somebody you're trying to help heat up or learn the ropes a little bit more. I think Ember is going to be safe for quite some time. What about you, Paul?
I don't think that Ember is necessarily at risk of being let go. But I do think that I somewhat question, like, why not bring Ember and Shotzi up together? They were a great team. They'd already been established. Why break them apart, to bring them up in, a different partnership.
I think that Ember is, I just don't know, for whatever reason, and you could sit here and speculate and draw your own conclusions, but I don't think Vince got Ember Moon. I just think it became one of those things, and once she was there, the creative ideas dried up, and that's when Hunter, I'm guessing, was like, we're going to do with, like we did with Finn, we're doing now with Mandy, but we're going to bring her back to NXT where I see value for her, because even if you don't see it, or like Samoa Joe, where it's like, how do you not see value in these people, Vince?
Right.
I'm gonna take them and we're gonna get value out of them in NXT.
I appreciate. I mean, speaking of Mandy, I was shocked when we saw Mandy on Tuesday night.
Oh yeah.
Return. I think that it's really interesting. We've seen a very quick evolution of her from this, popular type of tag team role to what would appear to be kind of a return to her previous character that we saw, what I think that everybody looks at her as to begin with. Like, turning her into a soccer mom never made sense to me. She's a bombshell. She should be presented as a bombshell. Let her do that, because that's how, that's fine. You can get people to respond to her as a babyface. You can get people to respond to her as a heel, but that seems to be a natural fit for who she is.
Yeah, and Fightful here saying that members of the NXT locker room were actually really surprised to see Rose back with the roster, and that's from multiple sources who also say that she's back now with NXT for good. And regarding Aliyah, her main roster call-up apparently has been rumored internally for about a month. It was said that she made a good impression on officials during a recent scouting trip, and by Tuesday night, the heavy speculation was that she was off to Raw. And look, she has a great look, right? I see a lot of potential in Aliyah, and I actually really like how the reshuffling of the cards happened. I think the Robert Stone brand much more powerful with Frankie Monet and the new mix they've got going on. I think this one actually could work out. I think Aliyah, because she's a pretty little blonde, I think Vince will get her, and I think she's probably got a pretty good shot of succeeding over on Raw.
At the same time, is there a prettier little blonde than Mandy Rose? And I don't think they ever quite got her. So
is Aliyah a blonde? She's like a dirty blonde, right? It's like brutal.
Yeah, I never even considered her really a blonde. Like most of the time she's been presented as something like closer to a brunette for sure. But
I'm thinking like highlights, right?
Yeah,
like brown with like blondish highlights in her hair. So,
yeah.
Sorry, everybody. I don't want to get everybody all over me in the comments because I accidentally called her a blonde. All right, I was thinking of the highlights, people. No, I actually think this is a good trade, and for all the right reasons that you said. Mandy in NXT makes a lot of sense, and Aliyah will have her chance to take a shot and make her name over on Raw. But only one NXT name to Raw, 3 to SmackDown. 1 to Raw, 3 to SmackDown. I think that there is definitely more in my mind to the Becky Lynch returning to Raw equation now, kind of looking at where the weights have fallen.
Yeah, again, you know what? All I can say is that anything that is going to add a little depth, a little bit of interest, and mix up the things that we're seeing in the women's division and in any WWE product is only going to make me happy, because the women, there's only so many ways you can reshuffle the same basic 4 to 6 people to tell stories. And that's
Yeah, 100%. And I hope Praddock, there he is. I see he's in the chat room here.
Do you think they're going to change the backdrops in the pay-per-views?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's not a pay-per-view set update, but Forbes sat down with Stephanie McMahon, and she confirmed SmackDown's going to have a new set on Friday night. It's going to utilize more digital and augmented reality integration. So they're going to put chips in everybody's brains in the live crowd, augmented reality.
Yeah.
The entrances will be more dynamic and captivating due to the higher resolution Trons, and it's going to have a more theatrical presentation. So very update on what we'll expect on Friday.
Tomorrow. Wow. Sounds good.
Sure.
I mean, right?
Well, they already introduced that new like super high res camera, like the 3K camera before the pandemic, and like everybody
hanging over the ring or whatever.
It's the one. It's like when people walk to the ring now, they look like they're in a video game because of this.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know what this. Probably something along that. More stuff to make it look nice.
Yeah, sure. That's the entrances have been the problem.
Right. Right. Well,
I mean, only that, you know what, Nick, I've been saying for like the whole pandemic, man, I wish these entrances were a little more bangers, you know, like something really to get me involved in the entrance to the matches I have no interest in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the entrances are going to be like in NXT, the entrances all got cut because they need more action.
Yeah.
Maybe less entrance. And Praddock here, by the way, I was waiting for him to chime in. I am a huge fan of stage sets in wrestling. Couldn't tell Praddock.
We're aware, man. Your fandom of stage sets is very over on this show, so we appreciate you. Always watching, and I really like. All sincerity, I'm in a really snarky mood this morning for some reason. But in all sincerity, I 100% appreciate you joining us each and every week. That is something. That kind of loyalty is to be appreciated. I need to put a new set behind me just for you, Praddock.
I hope that Praddock like tweets us like Lego sets that he's built, or like if you're one of those people, Praddock, that like does the action figure setups where like you buy the stage set, and you like set the stage, you take nice photos. I think my buddy Matthew Goldberg does that. Share with us your art, Praddock, is what I'm asking. Share with us your art. Okay. Released WWE superstar Buddy Murphy. He's changed his profile pictures on all his social media handles to 8/31/21, the expiration day for his 90-day non-compete clause. So we know when he's going to be free. We've talked a bit about it this week. I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on maybe what you'd like to see Buddy Murphy doing on the other side of this.
You know, Buddy Murphy was one of the talents that I had really started to invest in. That whole storyline with him and Seth, the storyline with the Mysterios. Not only is he wildly talented in the ring, he's got a great look. I got into that story, and then they just dropped him. And, you know, I don't understand what that is, but my whole hope is that we're going to see him in some amazing capacity somewhere. It does not matter to me. I think he's going to put on incredible showcases, and I'm looking forward to see what's in the future for him.
I kind of feel like, and I don't want to draw a direct correlation because I don't really know what's going on with Elias, but I feel like with Buddy Murphy, and we already saw his first couple exit interviews, the Fife one and the Van Vliet one, and he's talked about how uncomfortable he was with all the Aliyah stuff and having to kiss her and how he felt like it was weird. And it doesn't seem like he was probably sitting there like rah-rahing, advocating the creative they were giving to him backstage. And that could be an issue, right? I do wonder with Elias, with the Jackson Riker pairing, the way that thing just fell apart immediately, and Jackson Riker has literally beat this man to death for weeks. If Elias at some point said, I don't really want to do this anymore, and like that's what resulted in the split, and like, you know, he's quickly dissolving in the card, you know.
I don't understand. I do on one level absolutely understand perhaps if like, what if Jackson Riker is as much of a nut job in real life as people perceive him to be, courtesy of social media? And, you know, what if Elias is like a decent human being and is like, this guy just makes me really feel uncomfortable? But the flip side of that is I could 100% see somebody like Vince McMahon saying like, well, Elias, you like run your course here, and we've never really gotten to achieve with you whatever we want to. And I'm actually pretty right wing, so I don't mind this guy, you know. So I'm going to push him. You're punished, whatever. But I do understand that. On the flip side is like Elias and Riker together as a team was actually working for me in a way. Like I didn't really, they looked like a team. They, you know, they need teams that I felt like they are much more valuable in that capacity than they are the way they are now.
Yeah, and like I think they wanted some time to maybe, you know, again, like I'm not really exactly sure what happened here, but if they wanted to take some time to heat this guy up the best they could as a singles babyface before dropping him in front of a live crowd, maybe that's the tack they've taken here. I'm fascinated to see on Monday night if they trot that guy out in front of a live crowd, what reaction he gets. I mean, I think of all of the superstars that I'm intrigued to see how the fans react to based off of the booking WWE has done inside the bubble. It's got to be Riker. Got to be.
The flip side of this, we got kind of sidetracked too, because like the Buddy Murphy thing, I don't know what Buddy Murphy's level of resistance to the storyline with Aliyah was prior to people on the internet flipping out like, this guy's 30 and this is an 18-year-old girl, or, you know, whatever.
Sure.
I don't know if he was super resistant prior to that, but my whole thing was like, she's 18. he's 30. I mean, yeah, there's like an age gap, but half the 18-year-olds I know are dating somebody that's like at least in their mid-20s. So, like that to me did not seem like he was a child molester. It did not seem as outrageous as people were making it seem. And it all the more fueled the idea that her dad would not want her with this guy. So it made it all the more realistic. Now, if they were proposing some kind of like scenes like we saw between Lana and Bobby Lashley, where they're in bed and like all this stuff, that I would maybe see as a little uncomfortable. But, what we saw was puppy love, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. I thought it was actually quite compelling and rang very true to life for me.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people hated it. And I was kind of wondering the same thing when he just was like completely burying it. If like that was a public kind of front facing to kind of prepare himself for life on the free market, trying to make himself as valuable as possible. It definitely crossed my mind, but it seems really genuine too. Like,
I think it's entirely possible that he could have been uncomfortable with it, because there are people in the world who do not necessarily want most wrestlers do not end up in a romantic storyline. Like, you know what I mean? Like that has always been a trope in the world of professional wrestling. It does well. People buy and engage it, but most wrestlers go an entire career without experiencing one of those. Like this was his big breakout moment, and that's what it was based on.
Yesterday on the show, we were talking about how Buddy praised Alexa Bliss and the Van Vliet interview, and how Bliss came out and said she's very supportive of Buddy. It's nice to see a relationship end in a way where everybody can be adults, right? Alexa took to Instagram yesterday, and she showed off this new hairdo. I kid you not, this was the second most trafficked thing on the website yesterday, Paul, of everything. Like, there was just a ton of interest in this, so I felt compelled to include it. She wrote this caption, "Temporary short hair," along with a photo, and it's really only kind of short. I didn't really see a huge difference. Maybe it's just because I don't know, not looking at that stuff.
I did not look at it. I didn't click on that one. Her hair didn't interest me. I also met her in person one time, and she completely denied who she was, and I thought it was really funny.
Couple comments here about the Buddy Murphy Aliyah stuff. Daniel Price, she's legal. Hell, look at the age gaps in some Hollywood marriages, right? Kind of echoing you there. Samantha, Ray was all for it, right? Which I thought was an interesting note that he dropped in there, because now Ray's definitely going to get asked about it. I don't know that I would have said that.
At the same time, like when all for it mean, what does that mean? Like, I don't think he was pimping his daughter. I think he was like, I think that he was 100% in that mind. Oh my gosh. He was, I'm like getting blown up here. Sorry about that. He was 100% in that mindset that he wanted his daughter to get over. It's something she expressed interest in. And this was doing it in a way where he was getting the opportunity to work with his kid. That's what I'm assuming that we're talking about here.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. All right. Hey, let's talk AEW Dynamite. You said these guys pulled out all the stops last night. I completely agree with you, man. I watched most of it last night. I watched the main event this morning. Very rare that I actually like watch wrestling in real time at night anymore. But I really am excited about this week. I want to see how the fans are reacting to stuff. And yeah, man, really enjoyed it. The big closer with Darby Allin hitting that coffin drop through the coffin onto Ethan Page. I know that you've often spoke about how Darby doesn't kind of grab you the way that a lot of other fans are grabbed by Darby Allin. Did this do anything for you? Did it change your tone? Like, what did you think of how Darby and Ethan played that main event there?
I thought it was a great match. I thought it was a very, very good match. I really enjoyed the match. And I expected Darby to go over, big in front of the live audience, to pop him, to pop them. And I thought Ethan, to be honest, like I thought Ethan Page largely carried the match. I thought that Ethan looked amazingly strong throughout. In terms of what it did for me with Darby, I was glad that they did the coffin drop through the coffin.
Oh yeah,
because I thought I personally thought the ending with Ethan going into the coffin the way they did and just was so anticlimactic. I would have much preferred, like we're talking about a company here that has like 50 false finishes during the course of a regular wrestling match. So the fact that there was barely any false finishes in this coffin where somebody was like about to close it and then like, no, I'm preventing it. We didn't see any of those kind of things.
Yeah.
My strong guess is it's because you can't do that much of a strong or a false finish where somebody has to hold up the lid of the coffin when you know it's made out of balsa wood. But hey, that's an aside. At least it looked great. We didn't have the cardboard finish or the pillowcase or any of those things we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought there was a lot to like here for sure. And man, those fans, they should all have been given medals or their money back for just like being rewarded because they made that show feel like a WrestleMania last night. I didn't put it on the run sheet here. I don't know why. Ricky Stark's FTW title win over Brian Cage. It was over dirty, but is it another him and Guevara Texans, man? They both look like huge stars last night, I felt.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we got a nice swerve, if you will, in that FTW championship match. Ricky Stark's going over. It looks like Team Taz has orchestrated this thing because Cage has been problematic for a while, maybe, and they're like ousting him. I liked it. I love Ricky Starks. I really enjoy him. As I said, in the last show I think that we did, I thought the best he's ever looked actually was when he was cutting the promo last week where he was surrounded by his security rather than Team Taz. I was optimistic that we were going to see him get separated out of that, but obviously right back in.
Oh, right back in. Yeah, him, Willie, Hook. And by the way, Hook, I don't know, kind of growing on me. I didn't really know. It never really grabbed me, but like, he always just, I don't know. He just looks like the dude. He's just a dude running around causing mischief, like he's a little street tough. So,
well, I mean, I think in some ways, like that's not inaccurate. He's like getting access to things that none of the rest of us do because his dad is really cool, and he's being a kind of a dick behind the scenes. Like that seems probably appropriate.
Sure, easy to book. I also Adam Page, Cowboy, man, he was a huge star going face to face there with Kenny Omega. The Dark Order now just kind of are still, as always, just kind of his boys, his backup. Everybody looked top to bottom, looked really good. Miro, he's got this new AEW TNT title that he debuted on the show last night that I thought looked more Bulgarian, kind of fit his vibe. I like the new title.
The new title looked great. I don't know that his gimmick is growing on me, but I'm a massive Miro fan for the right and probably the wrong reasons. But the fact is that he cut a great promo last night. The idea, they're starting to flush out what it means to be God's favorite champion or the Redeemer or whatever. At first, when he first came out and was like literally praying in the ring and whatnot, I was cringing. But the way that he sort of defined a lot of that last night in that promo, it worked for me. Yeah, agreed. The last thing I wanted to bring up here was that this suit, and this was a Liz request. She may be watching right now, but Matt Jackson was visibly wearing a Keith Haring suit last night. And I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about the work of Keith Haring and kind of what the symbolism on Matt's jacket represented or suit. Well, I mean, Keith Haring is, of course, one of the most famous and iconic gay artists probably of the 20th century. And so, and super sadly, as his work was rising to success, he died amidst the AIDS crisis. Yeah. And so, but he's had such a lasting effect, and we see his work pop back up in a lot of pop culture references, for everything from like tennis shoes to obviously Matt Jackson's suit. So, it's always something, there's always something like little bits and pieces of interesting things that are happening in AEW visually.
You think Matt knew what he was wearing, or do you just think you thought it was a cool pattern? Because I haven't seen him really like allude to anything that would imply he like had any understanding of what it is that he was wearing.
Sometimes that matters less to me than just the fact that he paid a lot of money to somebody who's obviously pumping cash into the Keith Haring Foundation. So I'm like, you know what? Even if you ignorantly end up supporting something that's good, you know, it's not as great as if you do it knowingly because you want to support, but you know, whatever. I also think that it's very possible that he does know, like, that environment seems to be very open and accepting of a lot of people. And, you know, and from what I've seen from people that I know who like, even tangentially work there, it's a great place to be. And people seem to be widely across the board accepted. So, you know, for me, that's about as good as we could expect. But I did want to say one of the things you said that was our last note. And I wanted to say that to me, like, as much as this was an epic episode and top to bottom, even the most boring parts for me, which were, by the way, the Christian and Matt Hardy match, this was an awesome episode start to finish. But I felt like the person who walked out of this, in my mind, feeling like the biggest superstar of all, once again, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. That promo was on fire. She looked amazing. It was very interesting that we are starting to see her, I believe, be repositioned possibly as a babyface, because I couldn't tell, you know what I mean? Once again, like, there's this nebulous region. Vicky and Nyla are supposed to be the heels, I think, but Britt's the heel, I think. And but she just looked like a superstar to me.
I think the soft babyface turn started the moment she won the title.
I think it started before that. You know, sure. It was a situation where it was undeniable. The fans wanted her to win. They wanted her.
Yeah, and I agree. And that's why I say I think it started with the title win. And like, I was in the scrums right afterwards. I was talking to Britt like moments after she had won the title. And the tone in which she addressed the media was not heelish. And that was my first kind of like because her tone from where her promos had been before that match versus coming out of it, I immediately knew something. And I'm glad you brought that up, because yeah, I think they see what everybody else is seeing, that Britt, and especially in front of these hot big crowds, it's gonna be tough.
She's not gonna get booed.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really, really tough. It's gonna be really, really tough for her to get booed. I agree with that.
And the thing about it is, I don't think, and this speaks to the way that they develop their women in AEW, there isn't a woman on the roster aside from Thunder Rosa popular enough to make Britt Baker the heel. Like, and what I mean by that is that there's nobody defined enough on that woman's roster as a babyface to put her in the ring against Britt Baker, and Britt Baker have her popularity overwhelm Britt Baker's popularity. She would have to do something absolutely horrendous to someone to get the audience to end it. And I don't think that we even have that person on the roster, because, you know, she's just, if nothing else, she's the Regina George of that division. Meaning, like, even though people are scared of her, even though people like may not like her, it's like, you know, Britt Baker yanked out my tooth without anesthesia once. It was the best day of my life.
I think the only woman that could hang with her as a babyface, if they were trying to keep her heel, would be Chris Statlander. I don't know. I think she's the only one that's got like that pure kind of beloved babyface energy around her right now in that AEW women's division.
I think that I want her to have that. Let me just say that. I want her to have that. The first time I saw Chris Statlander appear on AEW Dynamite, I remember immediately, as soon as she walked into the ring, I went on Twitter and was like, I've never seen this woman before, but they need to sign her immediately because she is a star. Like, first impression. I feel like, you know, her injury, of course, sidelined that some. And now, you know, to me, I'm like, I feel like she's lost the momentum that she could have been building. I think they see it happening tangentially through best friends, but I just don't.
But this is what Tony does, right? He's like, we're going to keep the stable hot, and you're going to be a background player for now, but at any moment we could pluck you out of that, use the momentum of the stable, and give you a push. Because they've done that like interchangeably with pretty much everybody on the roster at this point.
Yeah, but you know what ends up happening in my perception, and again, my perception is not the right perception. It's not the only perception, but my perception is that, you know, when everybody around you is lukewarm and you're hot, and then you get pushed back into it, your heat gets absorbed by the people around you. So everybody ends up being room temperature and nobody ends up being hot.
Let's read a couple comments here about AEW. Then we're going to get to some really shitty stories. Then we're going to hear this Velvet Sky interview. Last three stories I'm really not excited to talk about, but we're going to talk about them anyway. So Phil here, these dangerous stunts will catch up to AEW. Some of them already have. Like Matt Hardy almost died. Let's not forget that, right? And it was. I know a lot of people, like, they saw those upright beams inside that coffin, and if he'd have just been 6 inches left or right,
yeah, I will tell you that's a lot.
Made me want to see him in the Jackass movie. I don't know if you're not a Jackass fan, I take it, but
no.
Okay. Well, just for everybody. It's Shark Week, by the way, on Discovery Channel. They do a Jackass Shark Week combo, and I really thought it can't be that extreme. This shit had me on the edge of my seat. If you are looking for something insane, go watch the Jackass Shark Week crossover. It is something else. We also have from Rob here, great AEW show last night. Looks like they're going to Page versus Omega before All Out at this pace, though. No, they'll stretch it. We got some time. Randy, Sam, Sup, Nick, and Paul. Now that Brian Cage is done with Team Taz, he needs a whole makeover with new theme, new ring gear, possibly have him turn into AEW, not Lesnar. Not comparison, though, but, what do I know? I definitely need to see Brian Cage repackaged and brought out as a monster, but I'm not optimistic about that. I'll be honest.
I'm not either. They one of the things that we've seen happen with AEW is I feel like they bring in people super, super hot, like they did Cage. They shoot their shot, for lack of a better term. They shoot it too soon, and then they just don't have anything for him because they're already on to the next big thing they're going to bring in that's going to be their hot new topic. Cage should have been put on a Goldberg Lesnar type run for a while and make him look unstoppable. And then, we should still be seeing that. Brian Cage is one of the most talented, huge muscle men that you're ever going to find in this industry. And he just hasn't been fully utilized by AEW at all, period.
We have Dell in 13. Big Swole, definitely big enough in popularity to take down Britt. I wish they'd push her consistently. That's the only thing I worry about.
I just don't think it's consistent enough. I think that Swole has the obvious potential to be if they make her a central figure, but she's, since Britt's original run with her, she's scarcely been on Dynamite that I can recall.
All right. Well, I did not realize how long we were going here. We're gonna prattle through these three last news items here. We'll get to Velvet Sky, and then in about 15 minutes, we're gonna debut the Velvet Sky interview over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel as well. But first of all, here, Sunny has filed to trademark her own name. She filed a trademark on July 9th for Tammy Sunny Sitch. She was released from the Monmouth County Correctional Institute in New Jersey back on June 9th after being locked up since July 2020. I had not realized it had been that long. She released a statement on her health, noting that she will decide on her professional future in the summer. And she is back on OnlyFans. And I only say that because, don't shame Sunny. She's trying to get her life back together. It is very difficult for a woman whose entire livelihood her whole life has been, I am beautiful, to find work after being in the crazy world of carnival wrestling. So please be respectful of Sunny, I guess, is the only thing I'm saying coming out of that story. Anything you want to add to that, Paul?
I think that everything about Sunny, unfortunately, makes me extremely sad. It's extremely sad because, if you go back and watch her early career, and try to put a character or whatever her as aside, you can see a light and a fire and a vibrance in her. And as time has gone on, as we know, the world of professional wrestling is not kind to people's body, mind, spirits, especially when it comes to substance abuse, which I'm going to go on the record and say we've seen it time and time again with other people, and obviously with Sunny. Something has gone remarkably off track for this woman. So my big hope is that after maybe she finally learned something from this experience. And I hope she is able to get herself back, on the straight and narrow, or whatever you want to call it, because otherwise she's not going to be with us much longer at this rate. I mean, it just seems obvious.
Yeah, and Rocky Baya here saying, is Sunny a WWE Hall of Famer? She is, in fact, a Hall of Famer. And I hope that I think, especially for somebody like her, it helps so much if you're doing the right thing to see your legacy rewarded. And if Sunny is able to stay on the straight and narrow and out of trouble, I would really hope WWE does engage her about projects or opportunities to welcome her back into that family and make her feel comfortable. And I say that having gone way too far down the China rabbit hole and seeing how toxic not being able to have your legacy controlled and how you can be spun can really affect you mentally. So I hope that the company, she is a Hall of Famer, does keep the door open to doing more with her, because I think she's definitely warranted her legacy to get a brighter light, you know. All right. This one sucks, this next story. Wrestle news. Michael Elgin, he was arrested last month for violating a protective order. He was arrested on June 9th by police in Belleville, Illinois, charged with violation of a protection order. The order of the protection was filed and served to Elgin on May 12th of this year by his ex-fiancée. She alleges that he violated the order multiple times between June 7th and the 14th, using alias names and email addresses to try and make contact, even attempting to contact her through her mother and other third parties. The woman also stated to police that she was never injured, nor was any property damaged during any incident with Elgin, and she never called 911, but she was abused by Elgin, quote, many times in the past, but never reported it. She stated that while in the relationship, she felt she was sexually abused. She stated she was never restrained, battered, abused, or choked, but during the relationship, she felt intimidated by Elgin due to his lies. She also said that she felt she could not say no to him during sexual encounters. She described some of those encounters and said she felt like she always had to perform sexual favors for Elgin, or he would ignore her and be visibly upset to make her feel guilty. It was also stated that Elgin never harmed her, but she is fearful of potential violence due to his use of steroids. This guy sounds like the worst, most abusive piece of shit ex-boyfriend ever. I hate guys that are like this. I don't know. One of my concerns, and the other thing I'll throw in here is like Del Rio. I guess Hannibal talked to him. People stop interviewing Del Rio. Please stop giving him air. Going out there and saying these awful things about Paige and making allegations and threatening her publicly, and you're giving him a platform. Like, my worry coming out of the speaking out movement was that these guys who had nothing to lose were going to just kind of start to bash the fences and make a ton of noise and make everybody very uncomfortable around them. And unfortunately, I feel like that's what we're starting to see here is the next wave of the fallout from the speaking out movement. Unfortunately.
There's a lot to unpack with this, and I'm confused. I haven't read this report, so I was listening. I was trying to like keep up with you. I don't know the specifics of this. I hope that this woman is able to get the help that she needs in terms of whatever she needs to do to get away from the relationship. And the flip side is that, like, Michael Elgin is somebody else we're seeing self-destruct in an entirely different way. And I hope that he is able to let this go so both of these parties can separate peacefully and sort of like reclaim whatever parts of their life they have the opportunity to get back to.
All right. We are going to dive to the mailbag here to wrap up the show today. Paul, thank you for going long here today.
Yeah, no problem.
Crossed the 45-minute threshold here not long
ago.
So we're going to wrap up the show. We're going to dive to the mailbag at Wink Daily. That's where we put up the daily polls. By the way, thank you to Scott and Velvet for taking the time as well. That was great. Jump in the comments. We're going to quickly patter through this. So if you've got anything you want to say, now is the time to do it. Today's poll question: who do you want to see Becky Lynch feud with when she returns to action? The questions I asked were Charlotte, or the options I gave were Charlotte, Bianca, Rhea Ripley, or other. For 250 votes here in the last hour, 53.1 Rhea Ripley, 29% Bianca, 12.7 Charlotte, and 5.3 somebody else. I'm honestly shocked that Rhea Ripley took half these votes. What's your reaction here?
I think that the reason that people wanted to see her, I'm guessing the people that want to see her against Rhea Ripley, number one, because Rhea Ripley is at the moment the Raw Women's Champion. And number two, this is just something subliminal. Like, I think they're probably like, I'm sick of seeing her like against Charlotte. And then the other, there's nobody left. And then Bianca, they don't want to see babyface versus babyface.
Yeah, I guess so. Rhea Ripley just doesn't do anything for me right now. I've never had a defined idea of who she is on the main roster. I don't. Maybe Becky can bring the best out of her, but she's just kind of a gray character for me.
Yeah. This is a scenario where, unfortunately, I think a super talented NXT performer, a very over NXT performer, got brought up with because they were something and they just didn't know what to do with her or how to present her. You know, is she a babyface? Is she a heel? Is she a this? Is she a that?
Yeah. At the Buscat over here on Twitter saying Eva Marie Scarlett lives, Zelina, anyone she hasn't feuded to build up more talent. Becky Lynch do drop. Compelling, I guess.
I can't remember which one of the things I saw was like Carmella, and I hate to say this, but Carmella facing anybody at this point does not interest me. So awkward.
That was at eRock39 and at Big Mike 8109. Nia Jax if she's on Raw, Carmella if she's on SmackDown. And you said depends on who the biggest heel champ is. Well, if Carmella beats Bianca Belair for whatever reason at Money in the Bank, you're like, that's not happening.
Just because you're a champ and you're a heel doesn't make you a big heel champ. Like it's not the same, like
Carmella is a better heel to me than Rhea Ripley right now.
No. I don't want people to think that I'm a Carmella hater. What I'm a hater of is the fact that WWE can only literally focus itself on 2, maybe 4 at most women on any show at any time. And it reminds me of something that Mickie James said during our interview for Wrestling Inc. And you can go check that out. One of the things is I asked her, what does it mean to be a novelty? And she said that people take me off the shelf when they want to play with me, basically, and then put me back. There's like no perceived value to it. It's a novelty. And that's how the women are treated. Like, they're just sitting there in the wings and they're like, yeah, we need a woman, bring you out. Like, oh, we're going to, oh, remember Carmella won the Money in the Bank like 2 years ago. We don't ever use her, but oh, she's so beautiful. Okay, you're done. Okay, bring out there's no consistent build for any of these people. So there's no real way to shift these women into a title picture where they already seem relevant without having to reheat them. They're like, put them in the microwave to reheat it. It's leftovers.
I'm going to bring up one comment here from the comment section. I think Sonya Deville might be the one to fill in the last spot in Money in the Bank. And that is a big rumor this week that Sonya Deville could be coming back. I don't really know how she plays with Becky. I think there could be some interesting chemistry there. But I also don't really know how they get her in Money in the Bank. Like, I don't really count out Becky coming back on Friday still to just get in Money in the Bank. It's a 50-50 for me.
I think that literally that would be the best move because they've obviously not put a great deal of thought into this women's Money in the Bank anyway. It doesn't feel like. So having an obvious choice, like Becky comes back, immediately wins Money in the Bank, and then we spend an entire year of her potentially, popping up at any moment to upend anyone. I think that's the best choice, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you go the opposite direction that you did last year. Last year you had Otis and Bianca, right? And it worked out with Bianca. It did not work out with Otis. But I think you put it on Becky and Drew McIntyre, 2 big stars carrying those briefcases that you are believable threats to that title at any time. That's what I would do.
I don't want to see it on Drew McIntyre, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a popular opinion. I think that's what's going to happen, by the way. It's just not what I want to happen.
I at this point am convinced Drew McIntyre is walking out of Money in the Bank with that.
Well, I can't think of anybody else on that lineup that is exciting as the lineup actually is in terms of the match they're going to produce. I can't think of anybody else who could walk out of that. Like, I would love for somebody like a John Morrison or a Ricochet or a Kevin Owens to have the Money in the Bank, because I think that all of them deserve better than what they've gotten for a little while. But I don't also think that anybody perceives any of them as a potential like threat at the moment.
Tad predicts
maybe.
Correct me. Last year was Asuka. Bianca won Royal Rumble. Sorry, I got that wrong. Yes. You're right. Bianca got her title shot Royal Rumble style. Last year was Asuka, and Asuka also did. I mean, it just fizzled, right? She just gave it up, and then Becky gave her the title, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't think it necessarily fizzled because it was something utterly unexpected. But, you know, I think that, yeah, like last year is the reason you forgot is because last year was forgettable.
Yeah.
Let's make sure this year is not.
Yeah. We'll never forget the rat race style Money in the Bank. Let's all get to the roof and try to murder Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black and, yada, yada.
Terrible.
Okay, everybody. Well, that's it for the Thursday show. Man, we went the distance here today, Paul. We are only 4 minutes away from debuting the Velvet Sky interview right here on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. So pop out of this chat room, jump over there, jump in that chat room, go support Scott Velvet, enjoy that interview. Go check out Paul's interviews with Mickey. Go check out my Virgil interview. It is Meat Sauce Madness, pontificated. And is that the right word? Pontificated? Did I get that right? Oh, wow. It's so rare I use big words correctly. Tomorrow I'll be back. I got a big interview to close the week. I got a lot of big interviews going into next week. I mean, next week's going to be some straight fire, but I think tomorrow you all will personally really enjoy who I have booked for the show tomorrow for a lot of reasons. So big interview to close tomorrow. The week out, we're also WrestlingInc.com. That's the source of the Wrestling Inc. Daily. Find us on all the socials, WrestlingInc.com, and of course the Wrestling Inc. podcast goes live at night after all the big shows. You can subscribe to that on your favorite podcast platform as well. Paul, what do you want to plug, promote, put over here to wrap up the show today?
My social right there just got verified this week by Twitter. I'm official. Shit, yeah. And you know, I can't really talk about what all exciting things are happening, but next week, hopefully, fingers crossed, there's going to be something I can reveal after this phone call.
All right. Hey, well, stay tuned to the now verified at the Glamazon PDM account. We're all waiting with bated breath now. You got my attention.
I'm really, really excited. So we'll find out.
Well, I'm excited. Outside of this great podcast that we just did, I also have the brand new episode of Pro Wrestling for Life with Sean X-Pac Waltman. I've had too much coffee today. Brand new episode of Pro Wrestling for Life, Sean X-Pac Waltman out now. Me, Sean, RJ City invades the show, and we have Inside the Ropes Kenny McIntosh on to look back at Sean's classic 1-2-3 Kid versus Bret Hart match from Raw in 1994. It is a very, 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 very fun show. It is the most laughs per minute. I think your segment was maybe one of the higher laugh per minute segments we've ever done on the show. But this one's, RJ City, man. You pull the string.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
On from go.
On since go. So go check that out. I'm at Nick_Houseman over on Twitter. I am not verified. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll be joined by Christy Olson. And remember,